on the agenda.
Linda, please hold on a
This
second.
meeting is
Thank you.
being recorded.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, go for it.
Okay, thank you. As a preliminary matter, I, Dorothy Hertz, Chair of the Contract Review Committee, thank you, permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipating the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tara, I'm going to say your last name. I'm going to try it for the first time. Restiria?
Yeah,
Restiria.
Restieri. Yes,
Oh,
I'm here.
Oh, look who came in. Joanne Roach.
Hi.
Linda Williams.
Yep.
And is it Veronica? And what's your last name?
Bolchik, Bolcik, but it sounds like an H.
Okay, we'll get it.
Bolchik.
Bolchik.
I'm curious who went off that we have new members.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jericho?
In attendance.
Ann? Median?
Medina.
Medina. I do that every time, Ann. Did she answer?
No.
There are no anticipated speakers on the agenda. Good morning, everybody. This open meeting of the CRC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the government order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical locations. Further, all members of the public body are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded, and so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting of the CRC will not feature public comment. For this meeting of the CRC, it is conveying by video conference and Zoom as posted at the town meeting website, identified how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called further. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. Take care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment for those members. So we're not going to have public comment, so I'm going to skip that place. Finally, each vote will be taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, so hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Morning, good morning.
It's nice to see everybody. We're having some issues with these cameras because we don't like them, but that's okay. We're going to go on to the agenda. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have
This was established quorum.
established quorum. Sorry, I'm trying to do this off my phone because I thought Jericho would print me out an agenda. Could I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Victoria?
Yes, aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
I am me. Okay, so we were going to introduce the new application form. What happened is over the course of the year, Jericho has reformed the application to be a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit more streamlined so that questions that were found throughout the packet are now listed at the beginning where answers can be given to us in a more appropriate manner and easier for us to get answers to questions that we have available.
Yeah, basically, I moved some of the questions around and put all of the narrative stuff at the beginning of the application. So all of those questions where they outline the origin of the project, all of the history, percentage of fundraising, ask, all that stuff is front loaded at the beginning. And then any of the technical documents will be in the back as appendixes. I also sent it out as PDFs. And then we're also
I
gonna
never got
collect-
it. That's what I'm saying. I never got any of this stuff.
I didn't send it to you, Linda. I sent it out to the people who were attempting to fill it out because they have until November 3rd to finish
Sure.
filling it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll start collecting it.
I'm going to speak. Next time, Linda, let him finish and raise your hand to speak. Also, Jericho, may I make a thing that we maybe get Ann today to send out a copy to everybody
Yeah,
so they have it?
There's a copy of that, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
And
awesome.
The forthcoming cannabis grant as well.
Yes, that would be awesome if they could. So we'll have that sent out so everybody can see the new format. And for everybody that is new, you don't have any questions about it
Right.
because you'll have nothing to go off of. But for the rest of us, he's hoping to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Okay. And Linda, do you have any comments now?
No, I just think when stuff like this happens, they should out of courtesy just email it out to us so we can see what we're talking about. If somebody happens to ask us a question about it, I couldn't answer any questions about it because I haven't seen it.
I think that we would agree with you that we made a mistake there, and we'll make sure it gets out today. Okay, so what we're doing is over a lot of conversation last year, Jericho and I, after the process, we came to a determination that we really needed a little more in-depth members to look at the applications because there were things that tended to come up in questions when we went to meet with the grant recipients who seemed to we had actually read our full thing. We would have had answers in them. So in going back and trying to figure out how can we do this, we decided that what we're going to do in this process this year is when the applications come in, 3 people are going to be given a certain one to read. Like everybody will read them, but 3 of them, and those 3 will come and report what their viewpoints of it. So we're getting a sort of mixed view, and we're sure that at least 3 members have read the whole report, financially gone through, so that when the questions come up, they're coming from different viewpoints. They can present it to us, and hopefully, we'll have questions to ask back of the people after reading it. So once those applications come in, we will assort 3 people to each one. And you might be on 2 of them or 3 of them, but the idea is that we have a much better reading of the packets.
And then we should be getting those in on the November 4th, which is this next Friday. So we'll get those out as quickly as we can to you there, all of them out, and then we'll get the sorting assignments out after that. We have only collecting 2 paper copies this year. If you do want a paper copy, you can come down and we'll print you another one off. But we have 1 for Ann and 1 for you for the hard copies to start. Any additional printing we can do down here at the health department. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. We just had 10 copies come in for each of them last year, and 9 copies sat in a box all year. So I figured we'd reduce the printing amounts.
But of all the grants, because what happens is Ann has always given us every single one of them written.
Yeah, that's so.
So you'll do the printing here instead of the 9 nonprofits doing the printing?
Yeah. So the majority of the printed copies sat around and were disposed of, were wasted paper. So it was just 2 copies, 2 hard copies here. If more than that are necessary, we'll print them up as required.
Okay, so is there anybody right now that it would be good to know that wants a written copy that they can work off of? Or does everybody want
I
to?
do.
I do.
I'm
I
talking
want
about-
a hard copy, please.
I do have my hand up, Dorothy. I don't know if you can see our hands up that are on
Oh,
Zoom.
yeah, I see it. Okay.
I'm talking about a written copy of the grant requests when they come
Yes,
in.
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
And Linda?
Uh, What I'm most interested in also is that cheat sheet, just the single sheet. But are you saying that if we don't want a hard copy, we get it by email?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm right. I'm a hard copy person, period.
Okay, when we come in, when we get them all in, just come in and we'll print them out for you.
I think that I would go with John is too. So I'd be interested to hear about Bert, but I think I would stay with the hard copy this year.
We just had 10 of them last year and nobody picked any of them up.
I think everybody 10 from what? Because
10 from each.
I had mine.
I had mine.
So I didn't know that you had one printed for me. So I printed them all out myself. So I appreciate the knowing this.
Okay.
Also, Dorothy,
Yeah.
through you, I know CPC, after usually getting 20, 22 applications a year, we only got 6. Now, I don't know if it's because people just didn't see the outreach, they were too busy, they didn't have enough staff to prepare them. Do we only send out the application to those group, that 12 that we've had every year? Or how are we getting the word out to everybody that were there?
I'll answer that from what I know, and then Jericho can go up on that. You could notice it in the last couple newspapers, the INM, there was a public notice in the INM. Above that, I believe we reach out to all the participants, and I'm not sure,
We do.
do one to the Cape because of the fact that the Cape has,
Yeah, for
Two.
Cape mediation and.
because the Cape has some on the Cape.
And then the
And then-
vineyard.
And then additionally, anyone who applied in the last 2 years, we sent back out to them. I passed it out to nonprofits locally, and then I did a fair amount of word of mouth this year. I don't know what our responses are looking like, but in terms of like questions and stuff about filling out the application, there's at least 8 to 10 people already working on the applications now.
Okay.
And it looks like there are possibly two new ones.
I think so, at least 2 new ones.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure because we've never, in the 18 years I've been on CPC, we've never had only 6. So I'm just wondering if that's going to cut across what we do as well.
I'd expect us to be busier than last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Linda,
And then, oh, sorry, Joanna?
Linda, do you think the CPC will offer additional application time because they got so few?
We can't.
You can't. So it's just those 6. Okay.
It's just those 6, and clearly those 6 are probably going to get fully funded.
Yeah. Okay.
That's weird.
Wow, that's really weird.
It is. I think that's
Does any-
very interesting.
Yeah, does anybody have any other questions on that? And then we're going to go to the evaluation criteria.
I do. One more question.
Joanna, go.
Jericho, is there a way for you to send to us the list of people who've already requested applications? Like, is there a way to keep the information coming so that we're not like, I'd like to know that now. Like who's applied?
I can get Ann to pull a list of people who have requested the packets. I don't know that that's going to be exclusive. There might be people not on that list who will be applying.
Sure.
But I can get, I don't think that's not going to run. It's fine.
I just
fine
think
if
it's helpful.
What?
I'm just wondering, we can definitely get a list together of organizations that have requested them. I was just trying to think if there was going to be any complications as a result of that, but no, I think.
No, I mean, if it's a request,
Yeah.
information requested, we're not saying that any of those people have put in applications yet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, then that should be, we can definitely do that. I'll see what Ann has for that now, and then as we get new ones in, we'll keep that updated. And then as soon as on the 4th, at the end of the day on the 4th, I'll send out what I've collected ones.
Okay.
So that'll be, and that would be authoritative on the 4th, but I'll try and keep that list up to date. So yeah, as of now, it's just the repeats plus community school who reached out direct to me.
The community school.
Yeah, for a Alzheimer's memory cafe.
Oh, so they're gonna take that on?
Yeah, last I know, they were picking up in partnership with Sherburne Commons. I think Sherburne Commons was going to host, and then Community School was going to do the facilitator and organization and administration.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I'm on the COA and I didn't get that to that meeting when this came up. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was something that popped up honestly, last 2 months. I've been working with Brian down there. Because that was my mom's hobby horse, was the memory cafe. So I was trying to get
We've
that
been
going.
talking about doing that for 5 years.
Hopefully it'll actually happen now.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next, unless there's any more questions on that. And I will make sure, Linda, we'll make sure when it goes out, just so you have it, everybody, new members too, is we'll send out the past funding
Oh,
Yeah.
like
that
the
has
last-
come by, so that you see where
Okay.
we sort of have done. And we'll send the, and I hope you can hear me, but can we send like we did the one that did over a series of years versus just last year? So that we can sort of see the graph, we have it. It's like a 10-year.
Yeah, the spreadsheet was very helpful to people so they can see where we started here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it's
And,
got-
and when you're
Yes.
new, I think that would really help a a lot. And so, okay.
Dorothy,
moving on-
stay there for a second, as well as what we're about, because you and I know.
Yes,
But I
yes,
don't believe they're gonna have any idea what our scope of responsibility is, et cetera, what our role is with FinCom as well as town meeting.
yes, we will send out a caption about that. And that's what sort of what we're going back to on number 6 on the evaluation criteria. Over a lot of discussion about what's happening and the new programs. Jericho and I went back and forth over this all year. And we went back to the original founding papers of the CRC. And the CRC was actually developed to fund new programs and not necessarily maintain or keep going payroll and existing programs. And over years, it has been a mainstay for some of the social services. We're not ruling that out. But what we really want to see is, instead of it only being that, we should be looking at new program ideas, because people have the power to fundraise, a lot of them, and are doing it. And we would like to see the programs that are needed, that are new, that are on there, like starting or inside a program. It could be inside, health imperative, safe place, food pantry, anybody, but a new initiative that really needs a lot of support would be a better use of the funding, because that's what the original funding was about. It wasn't about a maintaining of a long-term program, but it's become that.
My
And
only
so, and
comment, when you're done, I have a
Yeah.
question about that.
yeah, and not that we, it's not saying that we don't support the programs that are out there. We totally support the programs that are out there. We just want to see it go back to the
Be project-based funding more
Project.
than operational funding for the most part.
Yeah, we would like to see it go back to what it was originally sanctioned for. And maybe the nonprofits have to find a way.
And I think in the new, part of the restructure of the application is to sort of foreground how you're going to move off of the CRC funding for steady state funding of your programs. So there's some sort of, I'm trying to build it back into the application process, just so it makes it a little more obvious for people that it's not intended to be their operating budget every year. And then also, I think the current crop of new applicants is going to be looking specifically for, this is the funding this is the program that we're asking you to fund full and complete for the most part. All the people that have come to me and asked about CRC, I've been trying to get them to be like, just give us the program you want to do and how you're going to support it and how you're going to start it up and how you'll continue on after, in the event you don't get more CRC funding. So I think when we do our evaluations, that's a thing to keep in mind.
Also to keep in mind through you, Madam
Wait a
Chair.
minute, Linda, somebody had their hand up, and then I'll come to you afterwards.
Okay, this is Veronica. With the evaluation criteria, and I apologize if this takes place already being a newbie, do we use a rubric in scoring these applications? Because a rubric would allow a point system that if it's truly meant for like new programs, you would get, a higher score in that area as opposed to a lower if you are ongoing. And at the end, with different criteria that we're looking at, the total score would then rank the applications.
We have actually,
We don't have a fully explicit rubric like you're describing. We
Right.
use a level 1, level 2 community needs, like first order needs, second order needs, but it's not an explicit criteria as yet.
I would like to. Sorry, guys, I'll get to you in a minute, Tara. Would you like to put one together for us to present it to us at the next meeting?
I can
I can help Veronica. I can help you do that too, because I've done this before.
Exactly. I've done it with, reviewing scholarship applications or different types of organizations where you've got different areas and just trying to have some type of rather than being subjective, it becomes more of a objective.
I think it's great. If you two want to work on that and present it to
Okay.
and maybe meet with me and Jericho
Yeah,
before, we can't do that. That's a
If they can
quorum.
either meet with me, no, I think they have to meet with me and then I have to meet with you for the 2-person thing, right? Because I would definitely.
Something, so that would make a
Okay.
body, but why don't we do that? And you guys, we can present it for our next meeting. Okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Is that good? And what'll happen is that after you meet with Jericho and I go over it, we'll send out
Ahead of the
like
meeting.
to everybody
Ahead of the meeting.
and what you're looking at. And Tara, I'm going to go to Linda first because I held off on her and then I'll go to you. So Linda?
What the new people may not realize if they're not involved with this area, like some of us have been for decades, is that the reason why some of these groups have come back time and time again to stay alive, especially the 2 that come from off island, is the fact that federal funding and state funding has decreased dramatically over the last, let's say, 10 years. So a lot of these groups wouldn't succeed or be able to do half of what they do, say place in example, without a steady funding source from us. Now, when all this started way back 30 years ago, maybe even longer, the Athenaeum used to apply and they got regular funding. And as Dorothy knows, we know so painfully, the hospital used to get regular funding just in general. And there are reasons for that it has increased our ability to help these people sustain themselves over the last 10 years is because federal funding's been cut in half and then cut again and then cut again. So a lot of these programs that are functioning every year to help a certain segment every year may not be focused on a particular program, but just to survive, to serve the human services on Nantucket. And we don't have the ability to get on a boat and get collateral services from Mashpee or Dennis or Harwich. That's why they come back every year. So I'm not all hot to trot on, oh, give me a program, when in order to even have the entity function, we're kind of critical now because we stepped into that gap between the lack of federal funding and continuing to function here. So I'm not all over, oh, it's got to be a specific program. That's just my position at the moment.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think what is important is that we look at not only are we doing a program, in this criteria that you're discussing is that we all know is that we do look at those things. What is the value of this? What access do people have in the community to it? Some programs have done much better in fundraising than they had in years prior. I think that becomes a key in what we're looking at in their sustainability and what they're doing in fundraising. So yes, Linda, some programs have been cut. Some programs have done very well because they've established themselves and had new boards and are doing better financially. But I think this process can have in it what is, it will have what the state
Exactly.
funding, what funding is available to them, you know, on a national level, what have they done? So I think it looks like until we see what they're going to put in front of us, that we should wait and then we'll comment on it when it comes back.
One more comment about that is that they've also
I'm
said
going to
during the
Veronica
pandemic,
answer that first.
Okay, I agree 100%. It doesn't, if we do our job properly, and, you know, I assume the entire group will have the opportunity to tweak whatever we come up with. If we do it properly, all of Linda's concerns and your concerns would be addressed in the rubric. We're not going to, you know, slant it. It's the idea is that takes slanting away. It
Yeah.
allows an objective view of all of them.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought when you described it. So Tara, I'm going to let you speak now.
Yeah, just to add to what Veronica said, part of the rubric really should be about sustainability. And part of that rubric should also be about what I call dollar impact, which is what is the incremental dollar and how is that actually going to impact? And then another piece of it is really asking the question of, if you don't get these funds, how will you continue this program or not? And so it's I think addressing what Linda is bringing up, which is, you know, there are some organizations that are just a lot better at fundraising, some that are better at grant writing. And so I think as part of the rubric and evaluation process, it really needs to take into consideration some of those factors, because we all know that some organizations are just more equipped or have the ability to do more either grant writing or fundraising than others are. So, and frankly, an organization shouldn't be penalized because of sort of there's an ebb and flow, right, to fundraising as well. So it's important that we include that as part of the rubric.
I have my hand up again, Dorothy.
Yeah, I'm going to see it. I was just letting Tara had her hand up for a long time. So Linda?
What none of you new people know is that the last 3 years during the pandemic, a lot of these entities have said that their fundraising is down and that their longtime contributors are being more targeted. So there is not as much money going around all of these 501c3s as there have been traditionally for decades. So a lot of them have suffered over the last 3 years in particular, and they haven't had the fundraising events, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of their people haven't come back because they're only giving to one entity instead of spreading it around, having been involved with a lot of these groups. And so we have to always consider the impact. It's going to take a long time for the impact of COVID to pass. But that's what's been going on now, is that the donating parties have been very targeted and not spread out like they used to be. And they haven't had the big fundraising events like they have, except some of them came back this summer. So we just got to keep that in mind.
Understood.
Yeah, and, Linda,
We always ask, by the way, we always ask for Tara's edification. We always ask, if we can't give you the full funding because we have only a limited amount of money that we have to spread around. If we can't give you that amount of money, if we can't fund you at all, what is the impact on your program? We always ask that question, if that's one of the targeted questions.
yeah, I just want to clarify something. Linda, I think some of the organizations actually did extremely well through COVID.
From targeted,
funding.
yes.
Yeah, with their funding. And what we saw last year was a lot of the organizations have actually done better in their fundraising. Yeah, a lot of them actually picked up fundraising that it was pretty impressive how much it actually went up. So I think let's wait and see what comes in as far as what they've done. I think that this is going to be a great tool for us and for the whole process. So I'm excited about seeing it and excited about the work that you're going to do for it. So I really appreciate that. Would you agree?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to working on this with you guys.
Yeah, I think it'll be really great. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to go into is the quarterly report meetings. And what we are trying to do is button up on these quarterly reports and making sure that as they come in, we're supposed to be meeting after each one and voting on and sort of keeping track that they're actually doing with their money what we have asked of them. And so what we're trying to do is give them a deadline and let them know that quarterly, like a reminder this year, it'll be a reminder note, and then it'll go into the contracts for next year, is that,
It may go into the contracts for this year when they're finally issued. I have to check.
no, this year's already out. For next fiscal year, it can go into this one, I've asked,
Yeah.
so we can put it into this one.
Okay.
So, what it is will be, we have 4 different times a year when the quarterly reports come in and they get their, sometimes what we get is their invoice, but not their report. And what we need is, and sometimes we've asked for information, it doesn't come in. And then what happens, it can get lost. And the fact that, oh, wait, we didn't get the information and a payment goes out, but we're still waiting for information that hasn't been answered. So what we really want to do is be able to read it, know it. If we have questions, ask about it. And that's usually where you can find, hey, this doesn't jive, it doesn't make sense. So what we want to do is there are dates that Jericho has where the quarterly reports are due. What we want to be able to do is when they get to them, that Ann and Jericho will send them out to everybody. And then it gives us, they have a window of time to pay those bills. And so what we want to do is be able to meet within that week of that window of time to allow Jericho and Ann, they have it, let's say they get the invoice in and within 2 weeks, the payment has to be out. We have to be able to meet, get that, and then go to him. And if there's any questions, ask them for the response, because by their contract, they have 10 days to respond to us with the written information, or they can be denied their payments. So I think that we need to get a little bit more, because it's always been, oh, we're just going to get our money. And we really have to be a little tighter on that money, because the money is
accountability.
It's a lot of accountability. And we've had a few organizations that actually, we don't have a way when we get funding. Let's say we funded, you came in and you said, I'm doing Polyboo, I don't care what it is. And we love your idea. And we say, okay, we're going to support that idea. But it's maybe only $10,000 you're asking us for us. And it's a new one. So it sounds like, okay, this is worth the risk. But when the risk doesn't pay off and the person doesn't do the work, there's $10,000 that could have gone to somebody else. We cannot get that $10,000 back. We cannot take that $10,000 in that year and give it to anybody else. It goes into the general fund. But it allows us to say, whoa, you need to be more accountable and make them follow through on the work that they're doing, or take them completely out of the process for the next year and just and not even look at them again. You know, so I think that it also helps us
And then we can keep track.
keep track of everything.
In the interest of kind of so the idea is we'll have the dates, the quarterly due dates set out, and then we'll try and I'll work with Ann to send out a round of invitations to everybody to mark the meeting times for the quarterlies ahead of time, so that we'll have these as scheduled meetings going forward, and that within X number of days from that meeting, we'll have a go, no go on any given payment for that particular quarter. And then if there was something we were waiting for, we can then bring it up at the next quarterly to make sure, to see if they have satisfied all of the questions we have on it, and then to release or not release the funds as a result of that. I think if we just can lock that in ahead of time, it'll make it easier to keep track of what's going where, and kind of get a little bit more direct feedback from the providers that we're giving money to.
And more accountability. So
Yeah.
it's not just that because the money's there and the town has money that you're getting it. Because we fought for every penny we have and we're fighting to keep it. And it looks like economically we might be having to really fight to keep it, right? So we really want to keep that funding. Okay. So that's going to be a big part of what we're doing.
So probably, at least after the collection of the CRC grants on November 4th, we'll have the invites and dates set aside. We can jigger with them a little bit to make sure that they fit for everybody. But if we can get those locked in now, well ahead of time, I'll feel a lot happier about it. And then we just have a little bit of ongoing for CRC outside of the grant season itself, which I think is something that will be helpful.
Okay, good. Yeah, and just so you know, like when the both you and Tara, when the applications come in, if there is questions, They are literally given 10 days to respond to us. We came up with a criteria a few years ago because we were really having trouble with an organization. So it's, you have 10 days to give us a response, or we can pull you out of the process. Because what happened is we were just dragged along. And instead of, we have to move it on for all the other people involved. And it also makes it come forward. We had, we also do the marijuana grant, through this, which the number up until the day we did it, we had no idea what the money was going to be. Like
Right.
literally, I was on the phone with the finance director saying, okay, seriously, as we're on, what are you going to give me? And then we made our allotments. We had to pull somebody out because throughout the whole process, almost every day I called and said, I need this document. Can I please have it? Can I please have it? Can I please have it? And while we were in the meeting, I even called and they just said, we're not going to disclose it. We're not going to disclose it. So we had to pull them out. And so these are like, it's really important, that piece that we put in there a few years ago that just sort of saved us. So, and I want to remind everybody of that, because we really need to have the paperwork before we put the time in and put them into the process, because it, a lot of time was put into like discussions and stuff over it, and really could have been tabled at the very beginning because the person didn't want to disclose that information.
Yeah.
So that's
That was a
really important.
wild meeting.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
So that is, I think that's all that we have on the agenda. I do want to discuss something with everybody that's here. Linda, I'm primarily, I just found out about this a week ago. So I did not realize that the social service department at the hospital is gone.
What?
And after,
What?
yeah.
Where'd it
social
go?
service-
Where did she go?
Well, no, not she. I'm gonna let Jericho take over in 1 second. I just heard it through the grapevine, came in and talked with Jericho about it the other day. All 3 members of the social service department resigned and have left. They have as of this point,
Oh my
the
God.
hospital has no intention of, they have not come forward as to what they're doing with the social service department. So after all these years, the only thing they have up there is a healthcare advocate. And so I
Wow.
think it's very important that we know that as a town. And as a town body, we used to, just so you know, for
Who signs
years.
them up? Who signs them up for Medicare?
Linda, let me finish, and then Jericho will talk, and then you can speak. I will put you up as the next person after Jericho. Is that for years we funded the social service department. It was a huge part of this community, a massive part of this community, under Peter McKay. It was an amazing social service department. It actually took over a lot when this department died. This department came back, but it died, and he took over a lot. And he had like 6 people working underneath him, and he was the go-to for everybody.
And they
in the
spoke
community.
Spanish and everything else.
Yeah, hold on. They offered everything. His staff was multicultural so that he could address things without it being, like it being a very comfortable situation to be in. And then they revamped their idea. They brought people in. We worked with Sarah over the money. They used to get money from us. They asked for money for the ambulatory service. That became a little controversial last year. I will be honest with you in the fact that Sarah, out of everybody there, was extremely honest and forthright with a couple of us that went up and really talked to her, what we knew, what we could disclose publicly, what we knew differently, but she was very honest and really tried to work with us. I think it might have been a very difficult situation to be in, but and the department is gone. And so I think that we have to keep that in our minds going forward right now. I do think that the contract review committee should send a formal letter asking what's going to be happening, because we are part of the human service sector of the island, because it's a huge loss to the community. And on that note, I'm going to let Jericho speak, and then Linda, I'll let you speak.
It's fairly brief. Just as far as I know, the 3 practicing licensed social workers who were in the department are no longer there. I've heard nothing either from them about what the future plans for their former department is, nor from the hospital directly. I know that the hospital has recently hired a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I don't know if that's going to end up in their social work department or not. And that's really all I know about in terms of, as far as I know, there are no other plans there. And then, sorry, Linda, I think.
And it is, and just so everybody knows that every single MGH hospital and affiliate does have a social service department. And it's funded. We went through the whole process because they said they weren't funded, but they were funded on the mainland, and we found that out. So we made them more accountable of funding ours here a little bit. But it's a huge loss. So Linda, you may speak now.
I am beside myself here, because when people sign up, no matter what language they speak, when people sign up for Mass Health, because we lost our human services department in the town, which used to do that, as well as fuel assistance, and yada, yada, yada. When they're the only ones that you go to on Nantucket to sign people up for Mass Health.
They have healthcare advocates. Let me make that clear. They still have healthcare advocate.
That doesn't do that, though. That doesn't do it. You walk into the hospital from outside the hospital, not somebody who's a patient there or a potential patient.
They have to. They have one position open right now, which is open to the public. Any public member, any hospital that gets certain funding in this state has to have healthcare advocates. It has one healthcare advocate that is open to the public as well as people in the hospital. I want to make that very clear.
But what does that person do? They can't sign up 1,000 people on Mass Health.
We agree with you that it could be an overwhelming task. I think what we're just trying to tell you is what I just learned the other day about the social service department at the hospital. And I just think that it was because of the role we've had, I thought it was very important that we all knew that.
How irresponsible can a hospital be on an isolated island, again, where you cannot just drive to the next town or drive to Human Services in Barnstable over at the center? How irresponsible can this be?
I think, Linda, all I can say is, I think we need to write a letter and ask what the intent is of the hospital before we can decide where they've been irresponsible or not.
Well, those people who resigned, because Peter's not doing it as much anymore. He was doing an independent thing, signing people up for various things and helping them navigate the human services and insurance and whatnot. I'm not sure he's still doing that. But those guys, Sarah and those guys, could do the same thing, because there certainly is a niche out there for that service. I didn't know she left the island, or what happened there.
Well, I think that they all had personal reasons that they resigned and they moved on in their lives. And it doesn't, they did all three resign within like each other. So there has to be there might be some other kind of backstory to it. I agree that every hospital has to have a social service department. I think it's important that we, I'm going to write a letter, and Jericho and I can write a letter and just inquiring about what is happening with there, because it's a huge impact on what we'll be looking at this year.
That's where a ton of referrals go to.
Yeah, and a ton of Jericho's referrals, a ton of everybody's referrals go to the social service department, because that's basically what it's supposed to be there for. So I think it's important that we find out about it, Jericho.
And just to be clear, as this was, as best I can tell, this was not a policy decision by the hospital to shutter its social work department. It's the members of the social work department moving on and not being replaced, is, as far as I can tell, the nature of things. It does not, I have no information or evidence suggesting it was part of a plan to draw back social services on like an upper level decision by NCH or MGB.
Or they made it so difficult for them to function that they said, screw this.
We can't answer that for them. All we can do is say that we would like to know what the intent of the hospital is. I don't think we can answer what happened in the inner circle. We have no idea. But I think it's important that everybody knows right now that it's not there. And if they don't have the staff in there, what the key will be to other support systems on the island and other programs that do some of these services. And I think that is very important as we go forward in this coming year.
It is
in
definitely
and what we're looking at.
A factor, definitely a factor. There are the three best equipped social workers on the island no longer are working in that capacity, and other human services funding requests are likely to be needing something as a result of that. I think that is something we should keep in
I think I think we'll
Yeah.
see the different programs offer, we're not going to publicly say what they are right now, but there are different programs that offer access to things that the social service department did. And some of them are very good at it. And I think what we'll have to do is see, I think it's going to be important that we have an answer before we go into the review process as to where the hospital and what their intent is going to be, so that we know how to best allocate monies this year and for the whole community.
I'm just shocked.
Okay, Veronica has a,
It seems that if there's truth that they're not going to be replacing when the department is gone, the timing of this is terrible, because if this was public information and knowledge, I assume that our applicants may have added more into their application to pick up the slack from what's happened.
here's what I would say, from just so you know, Veronica, I personally, I believe that the organizations are very well intermingled and are probably more ahead of it than we were of the curve. Wouldn't you say, Jericho?
Yeah.
They're pretty.
It's a small community
Yeah.
that I don't think that, I mean, Sarah announced her end of job time, I think 3 months ago. It was the other members of the social security that were the shorter term things. This has been in the books. So I'm sure that everybody was kind of been talking about it in that particular field.
Right. Just the hospital never made an announcement like they make about new hires that they would lost a whole department. Right.
Yeah.
Well, they should have done that as a human service.
No, we agree, Linda, 100%. That's why I think what we're saying is we are going to write a letter in request to sort of know what their intent is. And that way we have some form of response before we're looking at funding, and we can get into conversations with them if need be with the hospital to see where they're headed with it.
Crazy, 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 crazy.
Just a quick question.
Yes,
Are
Tara.
we going to make that letter public?
Well, here, just for the record, every letter that goes out is public. It's
Yeah,
all public
Yeah.
information. So you mean, are we putting it in the paper?
yeah.
Or sending it out to all of us before you send it in.
It will. It always will be sent to all of you before it goes in. I think, to be honest with you, this will be protocol. Protocol will be that it will go, Jericho and I will write it. Jericho and I will then send it to Libby Gibson.
Yeah.
Because that is the process that we do before anything goes public, because of who Libby is.
Right.
We get Libby, we allow Libby to edit anything if she comes back and says, and she's done this to me, I might edit this, but if you strongly believe that, write what you want to write. And a lot of times we wrote what we wanted to write. And then after that, we can ask Libby how Libby feels about whether that letter should go to a public thing. But I think usually what we try to do is get a response first and foremost. We give them the respect of going first,
Okay.
because then it looks like we're not attacking them on a public level. We're coming to them for the public. When we get a response that we might be, then we can go more public and say, we have concerns as the contract review committee of where this leads everybody. And I
Yeah.
sort of think it's better politics that way.
Yeah.
Because we're a small community.
But everything
And
that's sent, let's be clear, everything that's sent from this board to any entity is public
public.
record.
Yeah.
By
Correct.
law, yeah.
By law, it's public record, but it doesn't have to be published
not
publicly.
publicized.
We don't have
Huh?
to send it to the newspaper.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be publicized.
Right.
I also, I'm going to have an opportunity to sniff around on this question less officially. So if I find anything else about what it looks like there, I'll let you know as well. But I don't think that they know, honestly. is my
Well, they
guess.
better figure it out.
Well, I know, but I think what the good thing is that if maybe if it's coming from us, it becomes something where we might have a better chance to get an answer, you know? And so I wanted to bring it up because I think it's a very, very important to the process that we're doing. Okay. And with that being said, unless anybody has any other questions or comments, once we meet next, we will give everybody the dates for the review of the contracts, correct?
Yeah, so.
Did you get one in yet?
We haven't received any yet. I think we're gonna get the community school one first.
No, I'm sorry. On the old contracts, I'm talking about because we were just talking about the evaluation of the contracts, going over for payment.
Oh,
Quarterlies,
like,
quarterlies.
I think we have some, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we have a couple from the most recent one. The first quarter fiscal year 23, I think we have some of the reports and the reporting and invoices in. Is that what or did you want the list of the ones from previous?
No, what I'm talking about is, so if we could, if you had a deadline for these quarterlies, so it would be good for us to meet to do these quarterlies, and then if you could come up with the dates for the other three
Yeah,
quarterlies, then for our next meeting, we can all come up with dates for the additional meetings for the year.
Yeah.
On the quarterly
Yeah,
reports.
we can do that. So what we'll do is what I'll do is I'll have Ann do a last call for reports. We'll have those collated and sent out to you before the next scheduled meeting. At that meeting, we'll then set up the quarterly meetings going forward. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, can we set
That's-
up a date now for our meeting to take a look at these applications? It's obviously going to be November, but November's getting really tight.
Well, the applications come in, the completed applications come in November 4th.
Right. Can we set up a meeting after
Well-
that now?
Well, can we just, 1 second, the cannabis come in November 11th?
They're going to be November 11th or November 18th, depending upon.
Okay, 18th probably.
Do you want, we can.
Let's do the 18th and we can start the
Okay,
process of the others first.
okay.
So
Um,
what are you doing here?
So we were just talking about when the cannabis grants will be coming in. So if we look at, if everybody could just pull up their calendar real quick.
November 18th.
What week are we looking at?
Well, so applications are due next Friday.
Mhm.
Sorry.
And then cannabis is due when, the 11th, the following week?
I think the 18th,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah.
So we want to take into consideration, everybody, just so everybody knows, that Tuesdays and Thursdays, Anne goes in the afternoons to the senior center to do passports.
Okay.
And Anne's part of us because she does
Right.
the minutes.
So
So we
no
we-
meetings in the
the
afternoons.
afternoons on those 2 days. It
Okay.
just doesn't work. So we tend to go to Mondays and Wednesdays
Mhm.
because those are days when we know if we can be flexible, we have Anne.
Mhm.
So we could do the 9th because that would allow us to then designate to people the reports. Who's going to take what?
Yeah, so then we can we'll have them all in on the 4th. We'll send them out. We'll see if I'm not going to be I'm at a conference that day, but on the island. So I'll try and get them sent out after
No, why don't you just have them available for us on the 9th here?
yeah,
most
well,
people,
I'd
and
also
then-
like to send them out ahead of time. So
Yes.
that we have them out.
Well, people can pick up on the 9th here or pick up at the office before if they're not going to come to the in-house meeting.
Okay.
Okay? Then they're available, so everybody has it in front of them when they get here. And then on the 9th, we could hand them out and designate who is going to be in that meeting. We should be able to do the first quarterly reports on that meeting too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we'll take care of that and the initial handing out. And then we
What
should
time
set
that day?
Huh?
What time? I don't do this 8:30 stuff. I'm still a kid at home.
That's okay. We did the 8:30 stuff to fit a lot of schedules today. So we usually do 10 o'clock. Does that work for?
Yep.
Tara, does that work for you, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it works.
Okay, Joanna, would that work for you?
She stepped away briefly.
Yeah, that was a half hour ago.
The 15 minutes became a half hour.
It's okay.
It
We'll
happened.
we'll send it out to her. Yeah.
We'll get that. We'll propose that in because we want to make sure we get Bert and John in there too. So we'll send the proposed time, 10 o'clock, November 9th.
Just tell Bert and John that we say they have to be here.
Yeah.
And then
We'll have an option for Zoom on that day also.
It'll be
Correct.
something
I'll
like
be off
this.
island. Point.
Yes.
Yeah, make sure that Bert and John, make sure that those two know that it is hybrid, particularly John.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna try and, we're gonna tell them to come in, because I think if they're on island, they're happier coming in. I think.
To talk to the chair.
Yeah, we'll try and get that invite out.
Yeah, hard copy. Where you going?
Um,
I'm in Atlanta.
I'll try and get that invite, we'll try and get the invite
Can you
out
give me
and
the-
the agenda posted as soon as
Okay.
possible for that
You get
November
the
9th.
information. I'll make sure it
Okay,
gets to you.
thank you.
I'll pay you.
Guys, when you're having a sidebar comment, this thing is going bonkers and I can't hear Jericho talk. I can only hear your conversation.
Okay, we're sorry. No, it was us. We were just talking about the fact that just so everybody heard it, Veronica will not be here. And what will happen is I will get a copy, hard copy, and I will FedEx it myself to her at her address in Atlanta. So we know that she has it for our meetings.
Okay.
You do not live here year round?
I do live here year round, but we are off island during the month of November.
Atlanta?
Thanksgiving, yeah,
Hotlanta.
yeah, Atlanta.
My mother lived in Roswell, so I'm familiar with it.
We're in Marietta, so.
So that's, okay.
Perfect.
We'll, between Jericho and I, we will make sure that you get it at your address, so you have the hard copy, okay?
Like, definitely get me on, like, we can either send it, we'll figure it out.
We'll
Okay.
figure out, we'll get it to you so that you have it. So for the 9th,
Okay.
okay? And if Anne could put in for 10 o'clock in this building, and we'll do it the same way, hybrid like this, okay? And then,
I think we're gonna always go for a hybrid, right? Like, that's I think the intent.
the intent is for people this year to be able to either stay comfortable and not be in public, you know? To everybody right now,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
what happens if we have to go back? If there's an outbreak, we go back.
then there's a fair chance there will be.
Yes.
We'll definitely preserve the option for remote until
for the whole
we're
year.
legally prevented to do so.
Correct. So looking at the 9th as being the date, I would say, then we go into Thanksgiving week.
Yep.
So we're gonna have,
We'll have it on the 9th. The next one comes out on the 18th. The 9th will be our meeting to give everybody their reports. I think it's fair to say nobody's going to want to meet right before, unless we do it on the 21st of November.
No.
Doesn't work for her. So,
all right, I think,
Okay,
so let's
definitely.
do, can we do, so we'll have one on the 9th, then the next meeting after that, what does 28th look like for people?
well, let's just tell everybody 28th at 10 a.m.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And you're marking these down, right, Ann?
We're not hearing Ann at all.
We
so-
never
Her
hear
mic.
Ann.
Her mic's busted. She was typing earlier, so
Oh.
she's plugged in.
They said we don't hear her usually. The 18th,
Hmm.
we get the things.
The 28th, I'm off island. It's my mom's 80th birthday. I'm going to see her.
So you couldn't go in on the Zoom, right?
I can come on the Zoom, so I can absolutely be, but I can't be in person.
Okay, that's perfect. And on the 18th, on the 28th, everybody will get a copy of the cannabis grant as well.
And I'll be sending the e-copies out. I'll be sending PDF copies of everything out to people right after the collection day. And then you
Okay.
can come in and pick up any of the paper copies you need.
So on the 28th, we'll discuss, we should have an answer about the hospital. We should have an answer by the 9th on the hospital, hopefully. We'll have the cannabis grants and we'll have beginning discussion about grants that have come in.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then so
on the other
the
grants.
agenda for the 9th, we'll bang out a phone call ahead of the 9th, but it'll basically be like review total number and amount requested from all the grants and then assign them and then,
An update on the hospital.
yeah.
And then I think at that point, what would be best is we have to start looking at December and then setting up the month of December. But I don't think it's fair right now to go into December without discussing anything with the other board members
I think
that are
that's-
not here
Yeah, I
present.
think that's
Okay.
fine. And I think that we'll have a better idea of what the December schedule is gonna look like when we see how many we've got.
Correct.
Because what did we have? Did we have
12.
12 last year? 12 approved, yeah. And then the year before that was 15. It's a safe bet to say we're gonna be in the 12 to 15 at least request this year.
Oh,
I
I
think
think that'd be
probably
more.
closer to 18.
Yep.
Although more smaller ones, I believe.
Right.
Um,
And, right.
Yeah.
And we have no idea where we stand. We'll, on how many will come in on the cannabis.
Although last year it was 3 with only 2 contending. I imagine it won't be much more than that.
I don't
guess
think it's going to be much more than that at all.
It might be the same people. Additionally, we'll have cannabis last year was 300 something, 320,
For what?
320,000 with the total amount.
No, wasn't it 180,000?
No,
That's
it
what they
was-
gave
it was-
us.
Was it 180?
Huh?
It was
180.
180.
Huh?
They get more, but that's what they gave us. They
Yeah,
take the rest of it goes to something else.
there's a couple of different revolvers it goes into, but
Yeah.
I thought we got
I think
108.
we're 100. You're at 180, but it's projected to be closer to 300 this year because both dispensaries will have been operating for a full calendar year.
You know
Correct.
how
But,
much I hate this subject. I hate this subject.
but just to make it,
Thanks.
and it was 175,000.
87.5 each.
Yeah. So I think what is important is that it's very clear, we don't know until the very last minute how much money we're giving out.
For
Okay?
both grants. Or for CRC as well as, we have a better idea, but the CRC is usually decided ahead of time. The cannabis we've learned.
CRC, we already know.
C is a set number.
Yeah, CRC is a set number.
Okay.
It has been picked and has been voted upon, and it sits at 650, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're at 650,000 is what we have. Right?
Now, to stay on that cannabis thing for a second, do you think you and I should go meet with him ahead of time to see if we can get his act together?
Who?
Lepre?
No,
We
I
tried to
think.
fix it after the fact last year and we couldn't fix
No,
it.
we didn't try to fix it after the fact. The honest to God was, it was information that was lacking from the very beginning. We requested
Absolutely.
the information. We requested the information from the very beginning, and I made numerous phone calls. I would say that I would love to discuss this with you, Linda, but I think that we have to do the application process as is with everybody else, and it's not our job to encourage anybody into the process. It is our job to allow the public to do the process their way.
Well, he didn't understand what we wanted and yeah, la, 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 la.
No, he actually did, and he actually did not want to disclose that information. I think it's a little bit, you and I can discuss it, but I think it's
out of
just
scope for this particular meeting.
right now, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Because we spent a lot of time with him last year.
Yes, we did. And with that being said, because I think that we've covered everything we needed to cover, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Linda,
Yep.
Tara,
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
I would assume yes, because I
Yes.
think she's been out of it. Veronica?
Yes.
And yes. Thanks, everybody. It was nice meeting you, Tara, even though I didn't
Yeah.
really get to meet you. Nice meeting you. And you know what I didn't ask, and I will at the next meeting, is if both of you, I should have done it, but without everybody here, I didn't want you to have to repeat it, is I will ask you at the next meeting to sort of explain your background as you come into this, because it would be really, I've heard it, but from other sources. So it would be very nice for everybody in the board to understand where you're coming from.
Well,
Okay?
just
Be
one
really-
question. Did both of you get sworn in at the town clerk's office?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they're both, but
We
wait,
were
but they were
sworn in.
sworn in, yes.
You're
wait,
sworn
they were
in for
They
human
were sworn
services.
in for the Human Service,
Yeah.
for Council of Human Services, which they are a subcommittee of, so they do not have to be sworn in again as the Contract Review Committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I just want to
Thank
make
Joanna, we made a motion to say goodbye. You sort of said yes, you weren't there. And I think
Thank
hopefully
you.
hopefully you've been able to hear us, and that's all that really matters.
Yes,
I
thank you.
felt that if you had something to say, you would have said it. So,
I would have. Thank you. I appreciate that.
okay.
I
Okay.
was unfortunately multitasking.
That's okay. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.